Hi dear students, how are you? I hope all of you have prepared the topic which we learned in the last session. We were discussing about the first kingdom according to Whitaker's 5 kingdom classification, that Kingdom Monera, that we completed, and today we are going to learn about the next kingdom, that is Kingdom Protista. Kingdom Monera, we learned bacteria are the sole members of Kingdom Monera. In that we learned about Archaebacteria, Eubacteria. Today we are going to learn about Kingdom Protista. We already told that all unicellular prokaryotes are kept under Kingdom Protista. In the introductory paragraph we were discussing about this. So let us see what is discussed here. Kingdom Protista, all single-celled eukaryotes are placed under Protista, but the boundaries of this kingdom are not well defined. Listen dear students. All single-celled means unicellular eukaryotes having true nucleus are placed under Protista. Listen, here Protista, it is a Greek word, protist. Kingdom Protista, the word originated from a Greek word known as protist, means very first thing. What does the word mean? Which is the Greek word? Protist. What does it mean? Very first thing. And the term was first coined by means named by, Ernst Haeckel. Scientist name is Ernst Haeckel, Ernst Haeckel, in 1866. So the Protista, the word originated from a Greek word protist, means very first thing, and the term was first coined by Ernst Haeckel in 1866. This is for your knowledge. So what we told, all single-celled, all unicellular eukaryotes are placed under Protista, but the boundary of this kingdom are not well defined. We cannot say that up to particular area, otherwise up to where they are found. The boundaries are not well defined. What may be a photosynthetic protist to one biologist may be a plant to another. So whatever kept under Kingdom Protista, some of the biologists think them as what? A photosynthetic protist. And the same for other biologists, they feel like that it is a plant. So that's why we cannot mention the boundary of this kingdom. The reason is that what may be a photosynthetic protist to one biologist may be a plant to another. In this book, we include chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime mounds, and protozoans under Protista. What to be the boundaries doesn't matter, but in 11th standard, according to our syllabus, we include what? Chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime mounds, and protozoans under Kingdom Protista. Once again say the names. Chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans. Listen. Members of Protista are primarily aquatic. Habitat we are saying. Members of kingdom Protista are primarily what? Aquatic. They are found in water. This kingdom forms a link with others dealing with plants, animals and fungi. So this is a connecting link, we can say that, between whomsoever dealing with plants, animals and fungi. Being eukaryotes, kingdom Protista, you know that they are eukaryotes. Only Monera is coming prokaryotes, all others what coming? Eukaryotes. Being eukaryotes, as they are having two nucleus, the protista cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Being eukaryotes, the protista cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Some of them have flagella or cilia. That means, whomsoever having motility or moving capacity, movement, they are having either flagella or cilia. Flagellum singular, flagella plural, cilium singular, cilia plural. Protists reproduce asexually and sexually by a process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. So in this, when discussing about reproduction in Protista, asexual mode of reproduction is there and sexual mode of reproduction is there. And sexually by a process involving what? Cell fusion and zygote formation. So this introductory paragraph of Protista, what we discussed, all unicellular eukaryotes are placed under Protista, but we cannot say the boundary of this kingdom. The reason is that what may be a photosynthetic protista to one biologist may be a plant to another. And we are going to learn about the classification of kingdom Protista. From that mainly we are going to learn or discuss about chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds. So then we told about members of Protistans are primarily aquatic and this kingdom forms a link with others dealing with plants, animals and fungi. As they are eukaryotes, the cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Whomsoever having motility, they are having either flagellum or cilium. When coming to the matter of reproduction, they produce asexually and sexually. In the case of sexual reproduction, that is by a process involving cell fusion and zygote formation. Now we are going to learn about the first one, that is chrysophytes. This group includes diatoms and golden algae, also known as desmids. Chrysophytes, which are coming under kingdom Protista, includes diatoms and golden algae, which is also known as desmids. They are found in freshwater as well as marine environments. We already told that they are aquatic. So aquatic, it can be freshwater or marine. So they are found in freshwater as well as in marine environments. They are microscopic. We cannot see with the naked eye. We have to use the help of microscope. Chrysophytes are microscopic and float passively in water currents. And they are known as planktons. You know that plankton, phytoplankton is also there, zooplankton is also there. They are tiny organisms living in sea or freshwater, marine or freshwater. So they are the microscopic, passively floating plant bodies. known as plankton. Plankton, plankton. Most of them are photosynthetic. In diatoms, the cell walls form two thin overlapping shells which fit together as in a soap box. So we already told that chrysophytes include diatoms and golden algae. When we are discussing about diatoms, we have to understand the cell walls of diatoms form two thin overlapping shells and they are fitting together as in a soap box, and the walls are embedded with silica, and thus the walls are indestructible. What is the word? Indestructible means cannot be destroyed. So what is the meaning of the word indestructible? Cannot be destroyed. Why? Because these two walls are embedded with silica. Two walls are there. They are overlapping and they fit together as of a sub box, and these two walls are embedded with silica, and thus the walls are indestructible. Thus, diatoms have left behind a large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitat. This accumulation over billions of years is referred to as diatomaceous earth. Dear students, a very important topic and a point we are discussing here now. Diatomaceous earth. Actually, what is diatomaceous earth? Diatoms which are coming under chrysophytes having two thin overlapping shells in their cell walls, and these walls are embedded with silica because of their indestructible, we told, and thus the diatoms have left behind. Once the organism is dead, then after they are leaving behind what? Large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitat, and this deposit gets accumulated, and this accumulation over billions of years, not 100 years, not 1000 years, it took billion of years. It takes billions of years, then it is known as diatomaceous earth. The earth which is made up of the shells of the diatoms. Being gritty, being rough, being coarse, C-O-A-R-S-E. This soil is used in polishing this diatomaceous earth. Earth means you have to understand soil. This diatomaceous earth that is gritty, and being gritty, this soil is used in polishing, filtration of oils and syrups. Diatoms are the chief producers in the oceans. So dear students, what we were discussing here regarding chrysophytes. What does it include? It includes diatoms and golden algae. Golden algae also known as what? Desmids. And where they are found? In freshwater as well as marine environment. And structurally they are microscopic. And they are known as planktons. Most of them are photosynthetic. That's why the last sentence we are saying diatoms are the chief producers in the oceans. And what is diatomaceous earth? What is the use of that? Please you have to understand. That's very important topic is there. Now the second, that is dinoflagellates. From the name itself you can understand dino. Di means two. Flagella means the organisms which are coming under this group will be having two flagella. These organisms are mostly marine and photosynthetic. These dinoflagellates which are coming under kingdom Protista are mostly marine and photosynthetic. They are found in ocean, seawater, and they are able to prepare the food by themselves, photosynthetic. With the presence of light, they can prepare the food. They appear yellow, green, brown, blue or red depending on the main pigments present in their cells. So they are of different colors, and this color is depending on the pigments, the main pigments present in the cells. The cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on the outer surface. Most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. As we discussed, most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. Very often, red dinoflagellates, example Goniolax, undergo such rapid multiplication that they make the sea appear red. So it is known as the red tides. Red tides. Dear students, what we are saying here, when we are discussing about dinoflagellates, we told that they are mostly marine and photosynthetic. Even they appear in different colors like yellow, green, brown, blue or red, and that is depending on the main pigments present in their cells. And the cell wall has what? Stiff cellulose plate on the outer surface. And most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. And now the point, very important point, that is, very often red dinoflagellates, for example Goniolax, they undergo such rapid means very speedy multiplication that they make the sea appear red tides. So red tides is because of the rapid multiplication of red dinoflagellate, for example Goniolax. Toxins released by such large numbers may even kill other marine animals such as fishes. So these red dinoflagellates, as they are able to undergo multiplication, rapid multiplication, and the sea found as red, and we are calling it as red tides, and even they release toxins, poisonous substance. And because of these toxins released by such large numbers of red dinoflagellates, that may even kill other marine animals such as fishes of that particular area. So this is related to dinoflagellates. Now the next is euglenoids. Majority of them are freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. What is the meaning of stagnant water? The water which is not flowing, not running. That is known as stagnant water. Euglenoids, majority of the euglenoids are freshwater organisms. So dinoflagellates, we told that mostly they are marine. So when coming to euglenoids, majority of them are which one? Freshwater organisms, and they are mainly found in stagnant water. Instead of a cell wall, they have a protein-rich layer called pellicle, which makes their body flexible. Here you can see the difference between chrysophytes and dinoflagellates. We saw the cell walls were rigid, stiff. They are not having a cell wall. Instead of a cell wall, they have a protein-rich layer called pellicle, which makes their body flexible. If rigid cell wall, body may not be flexible. Because of this pellicle. What is pellicle? It's a protein-rich layer. And because of the pellicle, that makes their body flexible. They have two flagella, a short and a long one. In dinoflagellates also we saw that, two flagellas. Which one? One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in a furrow between the wall plates. Here also two flagella, a short and a long one. Though they are photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight, when deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs by predating on other smaller organisms. So we told that they are photosynthetic, but the condition is there. If sunlight is present, then only they are photosynthetic. If they are deprived, that means if absence of sunlight, then they behave like what? heterotrophs. If sunlight, then they are behaving like autotrophs. If sunlight is not there, then they are behaving like heterotrophs. And what they are doing? They are predating on other smaller organisms. Interestingly, the pigments of euglenoids are identical to those present in higher plants. So, interesting point is that the pigments of euglenoids are similar, identical to what? Those present in higher plants. Example, euglena. The figure is given here, 2.4a, you can see euglena, the first one, and A. You can see even flagella and the structure. Body is flexible because it is not having a cell wall, but it is having a protein rich layer called what? Pellicle, which makes the body flexible. So this is related to euglenoids. Now we are coming to the next type, that is slime moulds. Slime moulds coming under kingdom Protista. They are saprophytic protist. They are saprophytic protist. They are coming under Protista and they are saprophytic. That means they are deriving the nutrition from where? Dead decaying organic matter. Slime moulds are saprophytic protist. The body moves along decaying twigs and leaves. Twigs means what? Small branches of what? Tree. Small, very small. In the branches also very small parts are seen there, and that is known as twig. The body moves along decaying twigs and leaves, engulfing organic material. So from them they are engulfing, they are taking in. Engulfing means taking in what? Organic materials. Like that they are deriving the nourishment or getting the nourishment, getting the nutrition. Under suitable conditions they form an aggregation called plasmodium. Very important point is here. Whenever suitable conditions getting, these slime moulds form an aggregation that is known as plasmodium, which may grow and spread over several feet. Dear students, very interesting, at a time important point we are discussing here. We are discussing about slime moulds coming under kingdom Protista. And the slime moulds are saprophytic protist we discussed. And the body moves along what? Decaying twigs and the leaves. Decaying twigs and the leaves. And they are taking in, engulfing what? Organic material. And one unique feature is that under suitable conditions they form an aggregation called what? Plasmodium. And which may grow and spread over several feet. During unfavorable conditions, the plasmodium differentiates and forms fruiting bodies bearing spores at their tips. See that? During, we are telling about both the conditions. Favorable to they are, what they are doing? They are forming an aggregation. So it is known as plasmodium. But when unfavorable conditions coming, so what they are doing? The plasmodium differentiates. The aggregation is getting separated, differentiates and forms fruiting bodies, and these fruiting bodies bearing spores at their tips. And the spores possess true walls. And these spores having what? True walls. And they are extremely resistant and survive for many years, even under adverse conditions. Even under adverse conditions, very bad conditions, very harsh conditions, even they can withstand, they can exist. Why? Because of the true walls present in the spores. The spores are dispersed by air currents. When coming in the proper substratum, they will germinate and again growing as a new slime mould. So what we discussed here, during favorable conditions, they form an aggregation known as plasmodium. But during unfavorable conditions, the plasmodium, that is the aggregation, differentiates and forms floating bodies bearing spores at their tips. and the spores having true walls, and they are extremely resistant. These walls are extremely resistant and survive for many years even under adverse conditions. And the spores are dispersed by air currents. From one region to another, they are moving by air currents, wind. Now the last is protozoans. All protozoans are heterotrophs. We are not telling that some of them are autotrophs, some of them are heterotrophs. All protozoans are what? Heterotrophs. Proto means primitive, first. Zoan means animals. Protozoans, we can call them as first formed animals. All protozoans are heterotrophs and live as predators or parasites. Either they are catching the prey and eating, or they are depending on the host. So we are calling them as predators or parasites. They are believed to be primitive relatives of animals. There are 4 major groups of protozoans. So dear students, till now we were discussing about the classification of Protista. According to our syllabus, we were learning about mainly 5. Which one? Chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime moths and protozoans. Here we are saying that in the protozoan itself, there are 4 major groups. It's a very important topic. Amoeboid protozoan, the first one, and the second, flagellated protozoan, third, ciliated protozoan, and the fourth, sporozoans. Listen dear students, there are 4 major groups of protozoans. Which are they? Amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. Let us see one by one. First, amoeboid protozoans. One side we are saying that they are protozoans. Next time we are telling that amoeboid also. How they are connected? Let us see. These organisms live in fresh water, seawater or moist soil. Listen. These organisms live in fresh water. Which organism? Amoeboid protozoans coming under protozoans, which are coming under kingdom Protista. So these organisms live in fresh water, seawater or moist soil. They move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia, false feet as in amoeba. Now you got the idea how they have got the name amoeboid protozoan. They are protozoans only. But how amoeba is catching the prey with the help of pseudopodia, the same way these amoeboid protozoans are also doing. What they are doing? They move and capture their prey by putting out pseudopodia, that is the false feet as in amoeba. Marine forms have silica shells on their surface. Some of them such as entamoeba are parasites. So as we told, predators are also there. So if predators, then they are having the habit of predating with the help of pseudopodia. And some of them are parasites. Example is entamoeba. In human health and disease chapter, you will learn about these protozoans in detail. Different species you will learn about entamoeba also, entamoeba histolytica, like that. Many will come there. That time it will be clear for you. So dear students, first type is clear for you, first group. As we discussed, there are 4 major groups of protozoans. From that, the first is amoeboid protozoans. Now the second is flagellated protozoans. The members of this group are either free living or parasitic. They have flagella. The parasitic forms cause diseases such as sleeping sickness, example trypanosoma. See here, sleeping sickness means what you have to understand. It creates drowsiness. That means lack of energy. We feel fatigueness, tiredness, drowsiness. That is because of what? Trypanosoma. Trypanosoma is coming under which protozoan? Flagellated protozoan. Flagellated protozoans, once again see, the members of this group are either free living or parasitic. They have flagella. The parasitic forms cause diseases such as what? Sleeping sickness. So, sleeping sickness is caused by what? Protozoan. And which protozoan? Flagellated protozoan. What is the name of that? Trypanosoma. 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 And the third is ciliated protozoans. These are aquatic, actively moving organisms. Why they are actively moving? Because of the presence of thousands of cilia. They have a cavity that is known as gullet. In our case, we are using esophagus. Gullet means esophagus. But in the case of protozoans, we are saying that they have a cavity known as gullet. That means it is a passage by which food passes from mouth to the stomach. That is esophagus. So they have a cavity or gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface. See, dear students, we are discussing about ciliated protozoans. So we told that they are aquatic and they are actively moving organism because the presence of thousands of cilia, and they have a cavity that opens to the outside of the cell surface. The coordinated movement of rows of cilia causes the water laden with food to be steered into the gullet. Like the steering of a vehicle, the same way, because of the coordinated movement of the rows of cilia, it causes the water laden with food to be steered into the gullet. As we told that gullet that opens to the outside of the cell surface, and with the through the current of water, what is also laden? Food, and that is steered into the gullet. Example, paramecium. Figure 2.4b, you can see paramecium. Actually, this is the gullet. You can see that opens towards the cell surface, and when water is coming and the water which one is carrying the food, it can pass through this gullet. Like that, the food particle is coming inside the paramecium. Clear for you? Okay, ciliated protozoan example, paramecium. Amoeboid protozoan example, entamoeba. Flagellated protozoan example, trypanosoma, causes disease, sleeping sickness. Ciliated protozoan example, paramecium. They are having thousands of cilia. Last is sporozoans. This includes diverse organisms that have an infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. See, dear students, sporozoans, one of the major groups of what? Protozoans. This includes what? Diverse organisms that have an infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. Actually, they are diverse organisms, different types of organism. Why? Because they are having an infectious spore-like stage that is present in their life cycle. The most notorious is Plasmodium. You have to understand, Plasmodium is a malarial parasite which causes malaria. And you know that through what it is spreading there, who is the agent? Yes, female Anopheles mosquito. They are the carriers. So Plasmodium is a malarial parasite which causes malaria, a disease which has a staggering effect on human population. Very dangerous effect. Staggering means very dangerous effect on human population. And this Plasmodium malarial parasite is of different species. Plasmodium vivax or Plasmodium vivax we can say. Plasmodium falciparum. From this, Plasmodium vivax causes malaria, that is common. But Plasmodium falciparum, it causes malaria, that is diarrhea malaria. It's very, very dangerous. Anyhow, we were discussing about, as I told you that again I am saying the same thing. In the chapter Human Health and Disease, related to these pathogens, microorganisms which cause diseases, you will learn in detail. That time all these will come. That time means then you can remember about these names there. So dear students, we were discussing about the 4 major groups of protozoans, that is amoeboid protozoan, flagellated protozoan, ciliated protozoans, and the last sporozoans. I think the topic is clear for you. So today mainly we were discussing about the second kingdom, that is kingdom Protista, and in that we learnt about chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans and its 4 major groups. I think it's clear for you, but to make the concept clear, as I am saying every time, please read the textbook. Understanding of the concept is very important. Prepare the notes. I hope all of you will do as such. Thank you dear students. Thank you so much for the session.